This is We All Be News and Radio.
Ron Hurd. Get up out of bed. Let's go. Let's go. Ron Hurd. That's the word. Get out of bed. Give me a jingle. My number 051. Get out of bed. Let's go. Don't be afraid. This is Herb Smith calling you. Herb Smith. All right, I know you're famous and all that kind of stuff, but let's go. Get out of bed.
Hello, Brother Chairman Fred.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We All Be News and Radio and TV. It's an honor to have on the Honorable Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., the leader of the Prisoners of Conscience Committee and longtime freedom fighter who comes from a strong legacy of freedom-fighting men and women. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, still rumbling, still fighting, still struggling. Honored to be here.
Yes, sir. Well, it's an honor to have you among us in the land of the living as well. It's like there's been an open season on black activists and community organizers. And I know we lost a soldier last week in the form of Brother Malcolm Shabazz, who was the grandson of the great freedom fighter himself, Malcolm X, Hajj Malik Shabazz. I just want to get your thoughts, like, what was you doing when you heard the news about Brother Malcolm's passing?
Literally was at the airport en route to the East Coast, in fact, to New York, in regards to an event mobilized around the case in regards to Sister Sada Shakur, and also a case from the attorney, Lynn Stewart, who's presently locked up, and also was mobilized around the case with Marley Graham, the brother was tagged by the New York Police Department. So I got bits and pieces prior to leaving Chicago at the airport, and it was still kind of vague. We was hearing bits and pieces and rumors here and there, and later on that night in New York, when I landed, get a few more calls and seen a few more forces in which they had, sad to say, said it was confirmed.
And what was your first thoughts after hearing some of the bits and pieces of the story, which was kind of confusing? Because I know at first they said he died at Tijuana, then they moved to Mexico City. I mean, then it went from him being beat up and shot and thrown off a building to him dying from a bar fight. What was your thoughts about some of the things you was hearing? Like, what was coming to your mind?
Well, no doubt about take into account, as you mentioned earlier, the grandson of Malcolm X. Not and I know this is the listeners and people are familiar with this. Just for the record, we gotta say it again. This is one of the most defiant symbols of against U.S. imperialism. One of the most righteous, revolutionaries this country. In fact, the world is witness. So, and one of the most blatant examples of the vicious U.S. COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program. There was ways against not only Malcolm X, but Marcus Garvey, Dr. King, Black Panther Party, and so many other forces. So, just in general, when you hear about something happens with our people, there's always, in fact, a lot of people criticize me and say, oh, here comes Chairman Fred, you're always blaming the system for something. I say, no doubt, and my position is no doubt about it. And then, also, when you hear something in regards to an individual who's related to Malcolm X, the first male heir, and also put in context that, in his own words, I'm talking about Malcolm Shabazz's own words, some of the documentation that was laid out, about the intensified surveillance, him being locked up and taken in there. So automatically, the position of COINTELPRO, it had a stench, a stench of the states, not only state involvement, but state pulling the strings of it. And then the more information that we're getting, and even as up until now, is is confirming more, of the counterinsurgency. As you pointed out, the different rumors of the locale where it was supposed to be found. Keep switching places. How it was supposed to happen? Was it supposed to be shot or beat? And the individuals supposed to be involved in it. But again, to cut to the chase, automatically, counterinsurgency.
Yeah, I see they have made 2 arrests recently in the killing of Malcolm's grandson. And I'm also interested to get your take on the response, because we live in a social media, internet, so connected world, but at the same time so disconnected. You know what I'm saying? People are, connecting social media-wise, but don't even know their next-door neighbor that well. So what has been your response from the black folks, how they responded?
Well, I'm not, as I said, I was on my way to the East Coast to engage in a few mobilizations. And in fact, after I left New York, I ended up announcing to Newark, New Jersey, working on some campaigns, and then Philadelphia in regards to the 20th year acknowledging the U.S. government's bombing on the MOVE organization.
Yes.
So I haven't really got time to sit on the computer, and get hip, keep updated, but about a lot of what's happening in social media. But a lot of forces have been continuously updating me. The community's response, is ever developing. I'm talking about the people are calling the questions. They're calling certain contradictions. There's been a lot of discussion about various forces that interacted with young Malcolm Shabazz. And of course, you hear about the naysayers, that automatically take in what the ruling class press or the mainstream media will put out or don't put out. However, with the people, what I've been hearing, there have been some real logical questions. It's a climate where where people don't get caught up with these terms are referred to as conspiracy theorists or you're paranoid, so on and so forth. Taking into account in a real deal type of way that the counterinsurgency is real. And one thing that I think has been a stranglehold prior to this by certain forces who define themselves as conscious, that people in the lay community, the everyday brothers and sisters in the street corners, the community in general, who were hesitant to say, to call certain things about, in the counterinsurgency, because they may not be able to articulate certain words and terms. In fact, what Stephen Biko of the Black Conscious Movement said, that black people must be able to distinguish, must have the ability to distinguish intelligence from the ability to articulate. And just in plain layman's terms, so the brother on the street corner, I mean, the questions that are being called are phenomenal. I don't know if you are familiar, or the listeners are familiar with, quite some time ago, some years back, there was an attempt for myself to even grab young brother Malcolm with this legacy tour. And just with the discussion of a legacy tour, talking about, not only the positions of Malcolm X and Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton, but also put in this context about the whole importance of that term legacy. We encountered so many aspects of the counterinsurgency, everything from the tour being straight out sabotage, miscommunication, agent provocateurs. In fact, I had detailed a lot of these contradictions in a piece that I had authored some while back, entitled "The Defection of Cleveland Valrey Jr., a.k.a. JR, who we at one time was represented as our Minister of Information for our organization, but was later on exposed to another, to not be a representative of the people. And we gave a whole litany of contradictions that he himself, as well as others, were engaged in, whether it be straight out criminalism or others validating him with liberalism. It was in a very objective type of way. And so and I've seen the state rear its ugly head and its tentacles out to stop the tour. And I'm saying this to say, because a lot of times people say, well, while the government make certain moves on individuals, and we must acknowledge that our people, and I say this including myself, we are at a disadvantage, meaning that we can never be able to fathom the tactics that this system will go through, to stop not only resistance, but stop even the discussion about those who have resisted before and the potential of these type of discussions. Just to have these conversations, or just even the symbolisms, and this is part of the ongoing breaking process, and similar to that during the era of chattel slavery. when a pregnant sister ran away, they would go. The slave masters would go back and bring her back and slit her pregnant stomach open and stomp the fetus to death. And some people say, well, why would they do this to the fetus? The fetus hadn't done nothing. This was a part of the breaking process, the demoralizing process. And in so many cases in our communities, whether it be in the music field, entertainment, the athletic field, or the cats on the street corners, or even those representatives of our movement, there's a continuous breaking process. And even we must acknowledge that anytime the state, this system, says that you're under surveillance, and again, Your Shabazz himself had documented this here, how he's under surveillance, and that's something that cannot be debated. Anytime that you're under surveillance, there's nothing that can happen to you that the system, that the state is not sanctioned or enacted or knows about.
Yeah, I was like you referred back to JR, your former Minister of Information, the guy who works, I guess he's the owner of the San Francisco Bayview newspaper, correct? Is he the owner and editor? I
believe technically they refer to him as editor, chief editor. I believe technically that's the title they refer to him at the paper referred to as SF Bayview.
Okay, so I was saying that I've read your critique and analysis of his psychological profile that you offer. Also, you did a very exhaustive critique of this man on your blog, Chairman Fred Jr. .blogspot.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I was just looking at it. It was amazing just reading it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, if I can, it was an exhaustive procedure, and I don't take for granted. I don't take for granted the fact that I'm still here, and I'm not saying it in some sort of abstract, spooky type of way, and because even though I'm still learning, I'm flashback on so many instances, and that paper, it doesn't even actually do service to the amount of different contradictions, but I want to open discussion. Yes. With so many forces, so many organizations, so many individuals that were not only nationally but impacted by, Cleveland Valrey Jr., a.k.a. JR, as was the counterinsurgency in general. And in present-day concrete type of way, because the deal is, which was exposed amongst other things, that there were so many individuals, and still remains to be so many forces, that can, engage in utilizing terms like COINTELPRO and talk about the vicious counterinsurgency in an abstract type of way, disconnected type of way. They use all these words and terms. When dealing with these contradictions right down within our communities, right down within our movements, right down within our street corners and college campuses, there's either a fear or naivety or liberalism that, not to acknowledge this counterinsurgency. And so this is. And we took a personal position. And I'll say we, I'm talking about the POCC, BPPC, the Black Panther Party Cubs. We took a position that if at one time we had this individual represented our organization, we thought. And once it was exposed that there was not a position to represent our organization. In fact, to work in the disinterest of not only our organization but the people's fight for self-determination. We had a responsibility to expose and to deal with those contradictions. We learned a lot about a lot of other individuals. We countless a number of surprised and shocked some people. Some people even went so far as to say, well, even whatever the case, Chairman, we should still not say nothing. We should, hold it to ourselves. And we exposed, like how people were willing to be held hostage by certain deficiencies. For example, within our organization, the inability to get information out as we should. And our family had taken a position that we would use 2 tin cans and a string to get the word to the community, as opposed to being held hostage by any entity. And also just to really further expose the potential. Why would an individual or entity go to the lengths, to impede, just certain discussions about legacy? And again, the more discussions that it's a piece, it's an objective political piece that I had authored that I hope can withstand time, can transcend geographical, gender, and generational lines. And similar to that, we can look at the writings of the late great Field Marshal George Jackson, and can still see some of the contradictions that happen within the concentration camps and what happened in the general community. Because these contradictions are not, they are not new, for lack of better terms. So, because some of the names may have changed, but these are some of the same struggles and contradictions. And I see myself as not only a servant of the people, but as a servant of history. And in all honesty, I actually didn't know if I was, going to live past while exposed to those contradictions. In fact, I had stashed pieces of paper throughout, different places throughout the country, and I was writing these notes because in my mind, the more stuff I was coming across, just and not just, I don't want this seem subjective because a lot of people try to make it like, well, this is a personal thing or a beef. I say no rap war. This is a political summation about the impact of our movement. And a lot of people talk about organizing, but a lot of people really do not see themselves even being worthy of being victimized by the counterinsurgency. In other words, if you really get an honest response from a lot of forces, they'll say, well, man, the system won't be thinking about us. And this is something similar. This is the type of sentiments that many people try to express to the Black Panther Party. Like, well, y'all just 14 to 24 years old. Why would the government be thinking about y'all? And as we've seen, is articulated by such agent provocateurs as Earl Anthony, who was one of the early on members that was placed inside the Black Panther Party. Earl Anthony had said that prior to the Black Panther Party, many people may have not been familiar with Huey P. Newton. He said, but the federal government was perfectly aware of Huey P. Newton. And I want to just bring it closer to home. Chairman Fred, prior to being Chairman Fred, prior to being the chairman of the largest chapter of the Black Panther Party, at the age of 14, his FBI file started. At the age of 14. And the fact when they called for a wiretap on my grandmother, on grandmother's phone, on his mother's phone, they thought it was a typo about his age. They recognized his organizing capabilities when he had took the junior NAACP, I believe from 7 to 300 members in about 7.5 months' time. And at the age of 19, he became deputy chairman of the chapter of the Black Panther Party, and we've seen how they try to get various street organizations to make moves on the Black Panther Party. And to this day, we still do not have a full account of the amount of agent provocateurs that were not only placed in the Black Panther Party by the government, but throughout our various organizations and throughout our community in general. And this is a discussion that has to happen because it flies in the face of an argument where if we just do our thing, we ain't got to worry about nothing. If we save our money, we don't have to know. We don't have to worry about nothing. If we just know our history, we don't have to worry about nothing. Our people, just simply, our people are under attack, and it's just a simple fact for us organizing. Let's alone have a discussion about acknowledging the legacies of Malcolm X, Chairman Fred. Let's alone about drawing a concrete correlation to what's going down today in our communities. The system does not want that conversation to happen. We do not want that work to happen, and we cannot have a discussion about the assassination of Malcolm Shabazz, negating the counterinsurgency, negating the COINTELPRO. That is similar. If we attempt to do that, that is similar to talking about African people being in America, negating the discussion about the slave trade. It's like saying, well, we just came over here. No, that's a subjective discussion. To say at least it's an incorrect discussion. We will come with a faulty analysis because we started from a faulty premise. So through the door, we got to come in. Who are we talking about? When are we talking about? Then we start going to the other details about. Wait a minute. What's the political climate like in Mexico? You know what I'm saying? What's the international relationships? What's going down politically? What's the past like? Who is this individual? These are the type of details that we can go into, but through the door, on the premise, we got to come in recognizing, man, the vicious COINTELPRO has not forgotten the legacy of Malcolm X, A.L.L, Shabazz. It has not forgotten that of Chairman Fred, the fifth head of Mark Clark. In fact, where Chairman Fred is buried there right now today, his tombstone is shot up annually by various law enforcement agencies down in Haynesville, Louisiana. And there's a continuous attempt to hijack the legacy of such organizations, the Black Panther Party. In fact, Malcolm X has said to himself, when they can't stop it, they will attempt to co-opt it, water it down, change it, make it something it can be. And the ruling class, they understand that this is how important this discussion is about legacies. In fact, there was discussion about NBC having a TV show about Ronald Reagan. And his family and those who support capitalism, they said, regardless of whatever contradictions Ronald Reagan had, they said, wait a minute, we must understand that Ronald Reagan is the most blatant symbolism of capitalism in America. They say they must preserve that image, that legacy, and they will try to sidetrack and go around and grab other individuals, but we must be able to make the connection and know it's an attack on a legacy. You talk about Public Enemy. It's not about happenstance. Even hip-hop, they would grab Flavor Flav, and grab him and parade him on the show with the clock on. This is a protracted attack. So just even the discussion of something of an assassination on a grandchild of Malcolm X. Again, we got to fight and got to struggle to be put in this objective context, and we can come in acknowledging different contradictions and acknowledging that we may have different political ideologies and acknowledging that some people may struggle or differ on reform or revolution, whatever the case may be. But you cannot. This is a fact about it's documented. You know what I'm saying? From women classes on mouth about the history of the COINTELPRO, and we cannot afford the luxury to wait on Oliver Stone or any other white left representative to come and water, box this up and water it down and later on and provide it to us when it becomes a safe subject. You know what I'm saying? Or someone come and profit and make a book about it. Which, well, speaking of which, is kind of ironic. They say there's already discussion of a book of Malcolm Shabazz's writings along with Cleveland Valrey's writings, supposedly coincidentally be ready to hit the presses already, and I'm not even sure if they even got the body of Malcolm Shabazz yet, let alone even bury him.
I'm glad you brought all this. You just brought so many thoughts to me. One thing I was thinking when you were saying all this, running down the history of COINTELPRO and his attack on the Black Liberation Movement, I'm thinking to myself, know thy enemy, but the enemy knows us very well. As a matter of fact, the enemy understands our potential better than our friends and family do, what it sounds like you're saying. But the enemy understands our true potential.
You hear about Tupac Amaru Shakur.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about, as a child, as a youth, you know what I'm saying, prior to him being the notoriety of Tupac Shakur, coming home and they talk to the various agencies, you know what I'm saying, hiding up under the porch, surveillance him as a child. And someone asked me the other day, Chairman Fred, how far do you remember, about this whole thing about, counterinsurgency, COINTELPRO?
Mm-hmm.
I said, actually, I mean, this is like a given. So we take this, I guess, make it similar to that. You may go to some communities and they may say, well, we just think the police come and help get cats out of trees. You might go to some white suburbs, they may tell you that.
Right.
I grew up with coming in contact with certain experiences. Experiences like, being taken to a Southside police station, Southside Chicago police station, and various other individuals having the same, about six or seven brothers having the last name Hampton, and a young police coming in and asking which one of us is related to the Fred Hampton. And the older police comes in, opens the file cabinet, pulls out a fresh photo, and throws each one of our faces, and me being about the third individual, and puts the photo of my father right next to me and say, well, here's your man right here. Coming into contact with situations is that of the infamous Menard, down at Menard prison, one of the most racist, brutal concentration camps in this country to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And they, in the gun towers, to this day, they still have photographs of myself and Chairman Fred in the gun towers. In places like Menard, also, they have a policy. They will give you 6 months added to your sentence if you have a photograph of me or Chairman Fred. And just even when I was getting trumped up cases here and there throughout my life, just police pulling out photo albums and, mention different individuals and, different agent provocateurs being sent at me, throughout my life. And just, so it's like a given, since we just, that's what the state does. And it's been difficult at times to struggle against a climate where the propaganda and has been so permeated to the point that people just, you're paranoid, so on and so forth. But again, you see a discussion level now where, again, just the people in the lay community. It's not absurd to grasp on such things about the surveillance and the COINTELPRO, and not to get caught up in what I refer to as the sidetracking of the slave. In other words, a lot of times this system gets us caught up in such questions. Well, what was this person doing? Similar to that, like they say, the Rodney King, the infamous LAPD beating the Rodney King, who also, for the record, I believe was also was assassinated. Rodney King. Mm-hmm. The question of people saying, well, do you think he was speeding or not? And as opposed to taking a position like the people took in Detroit, Michigan, when the police had killed Malice Green. And the police said, we believe he was having cocaine. And people said, we don't care if he was having heroin. Don't convict them police and see what happened in this community. You see a heightening where people are calling certain questions and they don't even get caught up in a slander campaign or even or majoring in minors. You know what I'm saying? Where they're calling the question on, no, this is assault on our community, and that's the type of conscience level, that's the type of climate that you see, brewing, and that's what you see even what's happening in response to the people from, regardless of religious background, regardless of class contradictions, people are thoroughly united with an objective call for a people's investigation. And that's an important term we need to understand, a people's investigation, and not relying on the same entity that has a history of, taking us out and then coming back and washing the blood of us and somehow making us somehow seem like we the one who they took out, be the criminal. So you see various points of unity of people united for again a people's investigation.
Let me ask you this, Kyle. You saying all this stuff, man. You just know your stuff. You running it down. You just dropping the science and the knowledge. I'm just trying to pick it up as you drop it. But I was just thinking about the fact that one thing with Brother Malcolm Shabazz I think is interesting is that his death is not only has been used to try to marginalize and malign his grandfather's legacy, but also you think that there'll be some type of schism between black and brown communities because of where he died and who he was trying to quote unquote help. Do you think it might cause a further schism between the black and brown communities?
Well, I don't think. I think that I see a political process. And I may be speaking idealistically, but even the certain discussions I've been having within the community. And I'm not saying the community. I'm not talking about limited to just the quote unquote conscious community, where people refer to the conscious community. I'm talking the masses of people, because in fact one of our slogans with our organization is we say the streets are our office. Our work hours are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and our secretaries are those brothers and sisters out there on those street corners.
Right.
And I don't see a mindset that is limited to simple race nationalism, especially in the stage. I mean, being the fact that even though many representatives of this system attempt to run down such propaganda to our people, this is what they call a post-racial society.
Right.
I think certain contradictions of seeing the first president-elect, Barack Obama, in office, and who a community who has never seen him drop tears from his eyes, only for the exception of a white community in Sandy Hook, Connecticut,
right.
And with no response to black children in Inglewood, Chicago, and Oakland, California, Cleveland, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, so on and so forth. And I think there's a political conscience level that, again, you just can't sell people on certain things. It's a conscience level where people are willing to call the question on not only Uncle Sam, but also Sambo, the Gringo and the Negro, in regards to who is utilized, not to simply be sold up by that. It's similar to a climate we've seen in the 60s, you know what I'm saying? The 60s, well, even though they had brought James Gloves Davis was one of the Negro pigs who came in on the vicious assault, December 4th, 1969, which resulted in the assassination of 21-year-old Chairman Fred and 22-year-old Defense Captain Mark Clark. There was a politicizing of the community. That's what we got to do our groundwork, you know what I'm saying? Because the deal is these type of contradictions are going to happen. We got to be on point. And in fact, I remember Chairman Fred back in one of his speeches when he was struggling against just simple race nationalism, saying, well, the fact is that Malcolm was gunned down in the room with white folks when wouldn't allow him to come up in there. So I don't believe that this stage in the game that it would just be simply engaged just a question of race nationalism. But again, the lines of demarcation was Minister U.E.P. Newton that said the lines of demarcation, the final lines, are being heightened to be drawn. Are you working in the interest of the state or with the people? Again, are you working in the interest of the state or with the people? Regardless of whatever other trivial contradictions we may have with each other, well, we may have different astrological signs, you may different coasts, we may live on the East Coast, West Coast, so on and so forth. However, the deal of the ante is being upped. The final analysis, whose interest does the individual work in? And also certain questions people are starting to ask. Who has the power? The power. That's what we're talking about. We're not trying to make nobody like us on this whole thing about racism, but the power. And I think even with the people's investigation with this case of young Shabazz, there's certain dynamics that got to be exposed. It's not just a question of what nationality an individual was, but again, the question of who string pulled us, who involved, and also what a criminal psychologist said before. One of the first things that you look for when you go to a crime scene is who benefited.
And you said a lot of muscle there. I want to ask you, when did you put up that article about JR Cleveland Valrey Jr.? When was that? Do you remember? Can you recall?
Because I know I wanted to struggle to make sure it was dated. Some years back. It was, and a lot of people are calling me and saying, "Man, this is so relevant. Was this just authored?" And I said, "No, because it was in fact. It took some quite a time because again, and I had to struggle with myself to cut it off because people in different locales in Atlanta, Houston, in fact, back home in Africa, different places, we would call them with different reports, and we struggled. We wanted to provide an objective analysis and use something that was so objective, can be used as a prototype that other organizations can look at, whether whether you're in Houston, Texas, or Detroit. And because the deal is, this was not a personal, subjective attack, an objective layout of some concrete contradictions that Valrey had engaged in, and do it in a way to expose the question of not just what he engaged in, so it cannot be dismissed as some sort of personality flaw, but call a contradiction of what entity was backing Valrey that this cargo of chaos can be moved around through Haiti, Libya, Africa, you name it. And so the question again of power. So there was that was the purpose, an objective way that not only the magnifying glass be placed on the issues around Cleveland Valrey Jr., but also so the people themselves can ask the question, who's pulling the strings with this here, and do it in a way that we're not making an indictment. It's kind of similar to with the Deputy Minister of Health for the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, Ronald Dax Satchel, had popularized. He said the Black Panther Party is not talking about overthrowing this system. We're talking about heightening the contradictions, exposing the contradictions, so the people themselves can see the injustices. And we, the Black Panther Party Cubs, we take a position that we are not dictators. We did not make an indictment on Valrey. We exposed the contradictions, and we literally and politically watched on what positions various individuals took. Because the deal is, some people, we don't take for granted. We do not draw as a foregone conclusion that all people want the same thing, or that all people the fact that everyone is working in the interest of the people. We want to expose the contradictions so people can make an informed decision. We want to not that you be straitjacket or stranglehold into a position to believe that all police wear uniforms. We want to expose the contradiction that you can say no. You can say no. This is political, and this position here works in the interest of the state. And some people took a position. Well, that's what they want to do. We want to heighten the contradictions to make the connection that it was. We don't believe it was happenstance that modern day Ricky Ricardo and Lucille Ball, that being Sean Slade Z. Carter and Beyonce, just happened to be in Cuba days prior to the announcement of the doubling the bounty on the head of Asana Shakur.
Right.
We lay these contradictions out, so the people are starting to engage in discussions. the people started to say, wait a minute. Didn't Jay-Z buy Beyonce an island on her own? Why would he go to Cuba all of a sudden? Did they have laws against tourism? So, again, all we're doing is hiding the contradictions. We're just stating the facts. So the people themselves can see their justice or take a position and see what position needs to be done. So that's the purpose of laying out the contradictions about the defection. And a lot of people, again, struggle with us when we shouldn't say nothing, so on and so forth. But we watch. And we let this residue sit for a second to see what flies attracted. And right. A lot of people were disappointed. It was a learning process. A lot of people who thought certain people would take certain positions and they wouldn't take certain positions, a lot of people were surprised. But again, our job is to fight, hide the contradictions so we can get some clarity around here. That was our purpose. That's our intent when we start talking dialogue with these contradictions, so we can be very clear and not let the people be caught up in a stranglehold and saying, well, the news said, or the police said, or the state's attorney said this. Oh, don't do that for objective definitions, man. This is this. In the spirit of dialectical materialism, man, this position was taken this time, this position was taken this time, so on and so forth, and it can never be devalued or watered down to a quote-unquote beef or older, younger, generational situation. But again, concrete contradictions.
The reason why I asked that when the date that you wrote this, it's very damning critique of one person, one individual. You made some great examples of like his actual instances where he actually interrupted certain important pivotal moments in the movement of the POCC. But the reason I asked that because I had received an email an hour ago that is a response to your post from JR Valrey himself. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't.
Now he just responded to it.
Computer access.
All right, but this is why I'm going to read some of it to you. I want you to answer it because that's why I asked you when you did this, because he said, and you talked about also the pre-order of the book, which is kind of strange to me. Like, it's kind of remind me of what happened to his grandfather with the autobiography of Malcolm X coming out after Malcolm's death. And now we learned that certain chapters and certain things were changed around in the book, that Alex Haley may not even wrote the book to begin with, and that he was probably an agent or was an agent. So I want to read what he actually
naval intelligence.
Naval, that's right. So I want to read what some of the stuff he said. Oh, boy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So he said, this is the title. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Tell me. Go ahead. I'm listening.
I was just commenting about Alex Haley, naval intelligence, U.S. naval intelligence. I was just commenting on Alex Haley. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine, but people need to know that because a lot of people are still asleep. They call themselves conscious on this. They still want to acknowledge that about Alex Haley. But this is what the brother wrote in response to you. He said, my response to slander. Now, he said this is slander, but this has been, like you said, the post been out for a couple of years now. So now he's responding to it. My response to slander initiated by Fred Hampton Jr. and others online saying that I was involved in Malcolm's assassination by JR Valrey. First, I want to offer condolences to everyone who knew and loved Hajj Malcolm Shabazz. When I got the word Thursday that Hajj Malcolm Shabazz had been assassinated in Mexico City, like many, I did not want to believe it. As somebody who traveled with him extensively over the 2-year period of 2010 to 2012, it was hard to imagine that he was beat to death in Mexico City, including reports that said that he was thrown from a window. The stories that I read are very sketchy, with a lot of holes. I don't believe it at all. I don't know what happened, and I'm waiting to hear the truth like so many of you that are reading this. But as I was taught by my Panther mentors, no investigation, no right to speak. That is the reason why this article took so long for me to release. The white power system government assassinated the father of Hajj Malik el-Shabazz for being a Garveyite. The little Shabazz family have been targets of COINTELPRO for over 4 generations, which is why I cannot accept a story like the one being told about what happened. What I do know about this assassination is that the enemy's media has been working overtime to malign Malcolm as a drunk or hoe chaser who got into a bar fight over the last few days. That depiction is far from anything I knew about Malcolm. What I know about the man is that he had a passion for helping young people understand and hopefully avoid the pitfalls that the U.S. government has set up for our community. He used his troubled life as a platform to let people in general know that he is not just preaching. He spent years locked up and, like his grandfather, used his time to politically and spiritually educate himself for his next stage in life, that of an ever-evolving freedom fighter. Malcolm was a very charismatic speaker who had no problem holding a crowd's attention. He was comfortable speaking to diverse audiences. He could speak at a masjid. I don't know what you say, like the M-A-S-J-I-D. To Muslims.
Masjid?
Yeah, masjid. Oh, yeah, to Muslims from other nations, then turn around and spend 20, 30 minutes talking to young people walking down the street in East Oakland. That was another skill he seems to have inherited from his grandfather. People have asked, with you and Malcolm having been close, why did you not rush to say something in the media? The answer is that when I first heard of Malcolm's assassination, I was shocked and saddened. No time did I have the urge to run or jot down my feelings on Facebook or to write an article or do a radio interview. Malcolm was a comrade and brother to me. I have feelings just like everybody else. Just because I am a journalist does not mean that things don't affect me. While emotions are running high and people are asking for answers, there are a small number of opportunists that are playing off of the raw emotions in the situation for their own malicious intent. I have heard that someone said I was in Mexico and that I am responsible for Malcolm's assassination. I was not in Mexico, nor did I know that Malcolm was in Southern Cali with intentions to go to Mexico. I was in Oakland. I am disgusted that somebody from another state that knows nothing about what's going on could accuse me of something with no investigation into the real facts of the case. I did not have any prior knowledge of or responsibility in his assassination. Somebody said that I introduced Miguel and Rumek to Malcolm. Malcolm and I met Miguel and the crew at the same time at Malcolm's first speaking event in Oakland at the Black Dot Cafe in July of 2010. Miguel talked in depth to Malcolm about building a masjid. This can be verified by Malcolm's imam, Hashim Al-Din, located in the Bay Area. I am not Muslim. I was not involved in those conversations. Another accusation was that I was selling Malcolm's books and DVDs. I haven't sold any of Malcolm's stuff. The Bayview newspaper put it up in an old ad on their website for an unpublished, unfinished book that was never used. The intent of the San Francisco Bayview posting is clearly stated in a response that the newspaper just released on their website. It was to show that Malcolm was working on something constructive rather than the mainstream media just trying to tie him to his prison time. This can also be cleared up by Imam Hashim Al-Din, the imam over the Janazah, who was working with Malcolm on his literary project. Somebody asked, why would Fred Hampton Jr. slander you? The only thing I can say is that we organized together and went around the country and world as comrades for over 7 years. After we parted ways, he started slandering me and my family, calling my grandfather and myself a government agent. My grandfather retired from the military as a Special Forces pilot in the U.S. Army before I was born. If you know the history, the Bay Area was populated by blacks from the South who were seeking to work in the wartime industries in West Oakland, Hunters Point, and Richmond. It's hard to find families on the West Coast whose family did not play a part in World War II and the Vietnam War. That is who first employed blacks en masse to the West Coast. I have never worked for the U.S. government in my life. I can't speak for anybody's intentions but my own. I don't know why Fred does the things that he does. I challenge you to judge me by my work record and by what people who have worked with me all over the nation on campaigns and not some rumor that somebody started to try and become the center of attention. Hit me on my Facebook about questions that you may have, and I will respond. I'm sorry if I had to read the whole thing just for your benefit. I hope I ain't butchered it too bad, but I just want to get your response to that. It just came out to me last hour from JR Valrey.
Well, again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, that we made no indictments. We called this criminal and Valrey about alleging that he was in Mexico or his what role. We never made that statement. However, the facts that we stated in the defection of Cleveland Valrey Jr., a.k.a. JR, we stand by those facts. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a storm of testimonies from people from all walks of life. The contradictions that Valrey engaged in, and not only with Shabazz and people who talked to Shabazz later on later on the stage of the game, so how he recognized how he came to a conclusion of acknowledging some major contradictions around Valrey. This is an attempt to, as a revisionist by Valrey to minimize some personal back and forth. But the deal is, whether it be in the case of Oakland, California, Atlanta, Haiti, Brazil, people you can talk to that even cases that his name that he has been tied to, and the Chauncey Bailey, the Yusuf IV, Ascari X, and whatever he comes in the case of Oscar Grant, how it's a fact. The case of Oscar Grant, who was gunned down at Bar Police in Oakland, California, how he exploited not only the case of Oscar Grant, but the family members exploited and hijacked history. The hijacked history took potential fight out of certain communities, and there are certain people who to this day are demoralized to the point that they want to get involved in struggle, and they were to a point that in some stages of the game, people earlier were hesitant to call him on questions because of this fear that they were challenging someone who represented a movement. We've seen him go to Philadelphia and exploit contradictions where young sisters, their mother may be their mother is white, and the father's African, and he would exploit it in a way that somehow in some twisted logic that they thought they can get their black card by being subservient to him. And this is every deal is to look at every situation and say, okay, well, whenever you leave a situation, what's the outcome? There's a demoralizing impact on community. And I'm saying demoralizing at minimum. Mm-hmm. And after his absence. However, he seems to benefit. Whether it be the movie, some guy named Ademu who actually done the work in the movie around the case of Oscar Grant. How he literally stole that. But I want to be careful with the terms, not say he, because again, the activities that he is engaged in, the question is the question of power. How has this cargo of chaos been able to the damage that he done and caused in Libya? Right prior, before the situation happened with Gaddafi in Libya, the damage he done, you know what I'm saying, which I've been witness in Brazil. The situation in El Salvador, man, I'm flashing back and looking back, you know what I'm saying, how my life was in danger. And so many situations, and again, that I've been witness and I do not take for granted that I came out alive. And we take a position. I mean, I'm not going back and forth. Again, objective facts. And that's okay, even with his elders' history. No one can talk to him, charge an individual from, with their father's role and so on and so forth. But let's put in context what we're talking about. We're talking about JR, an individual who was in New York, who had a company with me, a little brother asked a traffic director. I don't think this person was even traffic police. What street were you on? JR had demoralized this young guy so bad to the point that he felt like that I get back in the car and the guy say, Chairman, do you think I'm a snitch? I said, why would you ask that? JR says, I asked him for directions. This is a person that was known to accuse any and everyone. And then you look at certain contradictions in Chicago with the camps. So even though we do not negate the contradictions surrounding now U.S. Congressman Rush, but when for a case to be thrown out of open court, when Rush was coming in court, people ask questions about it, and they should ask questions. In California, with the case, a white girl with blonde hair got probation, and in this situation, the case is subsequently thrown out. I mean, in certain cases, I say, okay, you got a good lawyer, you power the people, so on and so forth. But these are contradictions, and I'm going to say objectively. And again, our thing is that we have some clarity around here, because as I said, we were under the impression that he was a representative of our organization, representing the people. There's no beef. I'm not accused. I'm not stated he assassinated Malcolm Shabazz. However, we want to expose the contradictions so we get some clarity around here. You know what I'm saying? Because again, this vagueness, this muddy water. You know what I'm saying? Which he has been able to articulate, whenever it's beneficial to him, a journalist or actor, whatever the case, or a revolutionary, move around with these, these different entities. That's my thing. I think again, we understand that there are contradictions, and there will be some antagonistic contradictions. But let's be very clear on who's working in the interest of the people and deal with again the question of power. The question of power. What entity has been able to utilize and work this force, again, through this entity that they refer to as the SF Bayview. And again, all we do is leave the contradictions out. The people themselves ask these questions. And I think it's an insult to people's intelligence to attempt to minimize this to some sort of quote-unquote thing between Valrey, JR, and Fred. This ain't Fred. This ain't no... We out here dealing with cases. We out here dealing with bodies in the city of Chicago that are being gunned down as a result of the policies by this mayor shutting down these 54 schools and shutting down the mass transit lines. We fighting for the case to say cool did with Sunday out there cold and turn Lynn Stewart with the present situation around the Sada Shakur. So we're not no personal situation. However, I do say this. People try to say, well, man, we can't get this holding us back from the work with us. I said, no, let's be very clear. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. You cannot talk about the work of the campaigns for the St. Cool Demons and the Marshall Eddie Conways and Dr. Matula Shakur's and Magic Lawson, who's out in New Orleans, without acknowledging the vicious counterinsurgency. It's a fact. You can talk to people throughout the East Coast alone. The damage that he done with their tour alone, this is documented. This is something even Shabazz himself that don't acknowledge the way that JR had exploited him. The damage, not only, there was one case we heard about a political prisoner who had done quite a long period of time locked up. We wanted to meet Shabazz, Malcolm Shabazz. JR literally stood in front of this brother and took his hand off his head and said, man, we didn't come here for free. Literally. These are the type of testimonies that you go to the community. These are the testimonies that you will hear if you combat the liberalism. Because there's no liberalism about not just this, but just the contradictions in general. And what happened with that paper, again, which on reading what you said, was authored years ago. And it is interesting that he just now responds now. That paper was authored years ago. However, it is still relevant. It is still relevant. And when you talk to anybody in the community, and they will tell you testimony after testimony, whether it be individual on a college campus. And then you have those, one of the eerie things, one of the ironic things about this individual is he would basically lay out and say who and how he was going to exploit. He knew that he had like a case file. Even the various members that were in the Black Panther Party, ones he would gravitate to, he would know who to exploit, what contradictions, what weaknesses. He had like a psychological profile. And as I said, one of the weaknesses that our organization had encountered was that of the ability to get information out. Because we do understand that what the Black Panther Party said, that information is raw material for new ideas. And for example, there were situations where we would write an article, myself, to be placed inside the Bayview newspaper. And we would get responses like, well, there's not enough a room for us, so on and so forth. And we would reverse it to a question and answer with JR. And it would even be longer than the article that was authored. Suddenly, it would be placed inside the paper. Right. Suddenly, it would be placed inside the paper. And people say, well, he's a hard worker, so on and so forth. We beg to differ. But again, we won't make an indictment. We want to heighten the level of consciousness of people so that they can tell us the fear factor to simply ask questions. I'm not talking about those safe questions. I'm talking about to simply cause some contradictions. Again, that's all we're talking about. We are not making any indictments. All we're doing is exposing the contradictions.
I'm actually just like, he said that he was involved. You mentioned the legacy tour. You talk about that in your article about JR. And I just want to ask you, from your personal observations, did you think initially that their relationship with Malcolm and JR, was it a healthy one? Do you feel like JR was more controlling over Malcolm, or was it handling?
Never. Let me please state this to you. Never. Mm-hmm. In fact, early on, even while young Malcolm Shabazz was incarcerated when he was locked up, we took a position, organization, to correspond with him. And in fact, there was a lot of struggles. A lot of people, to the position. Well, why should we write on? I said, well, I get a number of reasons. Mm-hmm. One, that being the male offspring of Malcolm X. I see if you don't see the importance of it. I see if this brother. I say this is prior to me having a discussion with him. I see even if he himself is not able to politically sum it up. We as a people, we must understand the significance of who he is. Mm-hmm. Two, I have seen with certain organizations, certain individuals that literally left me behind enemy lines when I was locked up. Who had not only left me, who had attacked me and slandered me, because they did not have self-determination, because they could not dictate on their own terms who was a political prisoner. I said I would never. I made a commitment. I would never engage in that. I would never let no one come and find us or tell us who we can't speak in interest of, regardless of politically correct. So we made a conscientious decision to make sure we reached out to the one person, one contact campaign. Upon his release, we had sent word. And that we're not coming to you with some sort of absolute. We're not trying to force you to be some sort of freedom fighter. However you want to move. In fact, we had even went around and drove down on certain individuals that we've seen coming to exploit him. Russell Simmons and some other individuals. We literally told them, no, good plan, wrong man. Y'all not going to come at the legacy of Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. One of the representations of the legacy of Malcolm X. Right. And we had further. So I had said, word, if he just said the slogan, free them all, in any interview, we would come for him. But there was no position of, make him get out of the struggle, because I think that's an incorrect position to come with some foregone conclusion that just because the individual is related to someone, that you just draw the foregone conclusion that they want to be on the front lines of the struggle. So after international travels, they get word, someone said, you should touch down with Chairman Fred and the POCC. We had a policy. We had a general policy that when people first contact, we know first impressions can be something. We had a general policy that when people first came into contact with our organization, Valrey was not the best person that you come into contact with. This is just on the personality contradictions alone. His disdain for the people. And in fact, our position was literally play a major role inside the media room. The media room, not interacting with the community. In the spirit of respect, again, as I stated in that paper, we respect democratic centralism. I respect other people's position. He ended up, Malcolm Shabazz ended up coming, and that was one of his first contacts. From the first encounter with Valrey, it was sabotage. In fact, I recall in Pacifica, one of his initial interview with this young brother. Initial interview, it was around the time that the individual admitted to playing a role in the assassination of Malcolm X had just been released. I say released lightly because it's questionable if he ever was in jail. They talk about how he was employed and had a family, so I say quote unquote released. However, JR goes right in for the jugular. He asked Malcolm Shabazz, if you were able to, and this is one of the interview, if you were able to see the person that did this, what was your response be? What would you do? Shabazz handled the first punch correctly. He said, he very objectively said, ask questions, it really basically acknowledged that he understood it was bigger than just this individual that assassinated his grandfather. It was a system that utilized certain forces. JR goes back, reroutes, and comes again with a statement. What he does is working the ego. He said, well, you're bigger than me. Before the interview can go over, I really called, I requested, watch him. I said, he's dangerous to this little brother. I did. And it was continuous contradictions after that. Continuous. Everything this cat came into contact with, it was damage. And again, and some people may see it as a cool thing, whatever. Man, all we do is lay out I'm telling you facts. We lay out the contradictions.
All right. So I asked you, what was your take on Brother Malcolm personally? What do you think of him, or what did you think of him? as a person.
Well, no doubt about it. Maybe in fact, there was the fact that I tell people when I meet people. In fact, I had a struggle with a brother not too long ago. I say, the brother to my high, we talk about respect. I say, well, with me, you have to earn disrespect. I say, especially in particular African people, because I know all of us come with 8 million stories. I don't know what all type of struggles and contradictions or what type of baggage each and every one of us come with. And I always, when I come to people, I come open with a respect. I come with that, and to add to that, a love of the fact, again, and there may be some sort of subjectivity. Malcolm X's grandson,
right?
And I had certain subjectivity also, and in fact, I relayed this to him at one point. I had said that I really, and I don't see myself as some elder, but I really had ideas. I mean, man, there's somebody, him kids, I tell people that a lot of people say, well, man, you got other organizations out here doing this, and other people. I say, man, I'll welcome them. Come on with it. Come on. I mean, when I was a youngster, there was this guy running around, and he was claiming he was Chairman Fred's son. And then when I met him, I said, man, you say you Chairman Fred's son? Well, no, I'm saying I'm Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son, Chairman Fred's son, and blah, I'm everybody's son. I thought you meant like, I'm talking like biologically. The reason I was asking, I wasn't tripping. I was hoping you can take some of this heat that I didn't get called my life. I want some.
I heard that, sir.
Man, so I had my, I mean, I really, man, it was, man, and again, when I come in as objective, I assess people. And I come in, in fact, I see myself as like Richard Pryor, the comedian Richard Pryor put it so well, as he referred to as a peopleologist. I see myself as a peopleologist. Mm-hmm. So I would dialogue with people and assess people, and I wouldn't put you in a position that certain contradictions would even come up. That not that I would have to lie about them. I just want, like I say, I never would put JR Valrey in a position of dialogue with people. I never would put him in no situation like that. And then that was situations where I am on let's go back to with Malcolm Shabazz. We were there were places in Chicago, that we went through, and I objectively how introduction, so on and so forth, that I knew people had certain subjectivity, certain certain ill feelings. Past situation as a child that they heard about, and they may not even they heard different rumors, so on and so forth. But what Valrey did and what he does is he would take certain forces and you can look at the interviews. And you can tell actually when Malcolm Shabazz was around JR and when he was not. He would take certain deficiencies, he would take certain shortcomings, and he would make you put him out, and he would exploit him, and then he would disappear. He would disappear. I am a servant of the people, and I understand that with the Black Panther Party said that without the people, revolution is impossible. I don't feel we can afford the luxury to, expose the different contradictions. In fact, it took me a long time to grapple with the situation with Valrey. And when it becomes to a point of attack against them, that you're trying to destroy the work of the people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think it's time we take a position of combat liberalism and expose those contradictions. And again, it was I recall the last around his birthday, it was in New York, and I literally walked up to Malcolm Shabazz, literally. When I embraced him, and JR was standing right, this how close he was standing so close behind Shabazz. I'm talking about, and you couldn't even have a private conversation with him. I literally looked in the eyes of Valrey. That was the last eye-to-eye contact I had with him. I said, I looked in his eyes, looked in this criminal's eyes, and I told Malcolm Shabazz, I said, man, when it dawned on you about the activities and the criminality that this individual is doing with you, man, I said, man, it may be too late. I said, this. And I said it right in Valrey's face. This was no secret or nothing like this. It was up front. This was common knowledge.
And you think go ahead.
And I'm struggling to be objective and again, because I know I cannot recount in detail to you all the close calls that I had and we had. I don't take for granted. I still check my body for bullet holes, man. I still check my heart to see if it's pumping, because I'm flashbacking on so many situations, and I want, if nothing else, to be a servant of people and servant of history. Because I've seen there were so many contradictions that I didn't learn till later on about the Black Panther Party. Certain people who I thought were just made mistakes, and certain situations I thought just happened. It's a disservice to generations. You know what I'm saying? That we don't be objective. So, and again, I don't want to let this feel like this some sort of personal contradiction. It's a political. It's similar to that. You know, we talk about this situation of Sean Flames E. Carter. People say, "Oh man, he tripping. It's a beef." Oh no, ain't no beef. Ain't no person. These are political analysis and political summation that we're providing for the people, and the people themselves. You know what I'm saying? Can acknowledge these contradictions. You know what I'm saying? Again, we have made no indictment on Valrey. We've exposed the facts.
Chairman Fred.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. I want to appreciate all the work you have done. I just think it's interesting. He's talking about, like you said, he's a media guy. He's a PR guy, but he's now just catching on to what you were saying because of all the heat. And I really think he brought it on himself in terms of how he handled. I don't know JR and all this stuff, the situation, but I think when that article came out with the pre-order for the book, regardless of how old the advertisement was, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Even folks that might not even be thinking on a political level or quote-unquote conscious level, it rubbed them the wrong way. Because I had talked to some people off the record. Go ahead.
Let me say something else, too. Even now, his response was that to automatically attempt to devalue it to a question about monetary gain. By saying that other people are selling it. And that's an attempt always to devalue issues like, and it's in some cases sad to say there are people in that type of mindset. Like when the police kill someone in the community, you hear some people say, well, that family is going to get paid. We must understand that everything is political. Not just the question, not the question of monetary gain, not the monetary gain, the political impact of the writings of Malcolm Shabazz to be connected with his name. The grandson of Malcolm X. It's equivalent. It's in the same breath. I can tell you, like Eminem never had been in the studio with Pac, never been on the street, never been around Tupac.
Right.
But it was strategic. When the movie Resurrection was released, the first name you see coming to producer, this and that, is Eminem. It's strategic to have Eminem on a song with Tupac remixed in Photoshop style with the song called Black Cotton. Cotton is political. Cotton has a political relation, a history, a dynamic, a political component in this country with black people. So to take Tupac and the grand individual who he didn't know from a can of paint, Eminem, and correlate them together on this song called Black Cotton. Two, before the body is even cold, grab so many people are looking for questions and, going through the grieving process, trying to find out what's going on, to have the first syringe stuck in your arm, the name of Valrey, a person who Shabazz wasn't even dealing with no more, that caused to have those connected, to have the discussion in the name of Malcolm X when you hear it. To have this individual even connected to it in some sort of way is not a question about the monetary, but the deal of the political legacy. The political legacy. The political legacy.
Chairman Fred, I just want to thank you once again for all your input. I know you're a 24/7 cat. The struggle is 24/7. It's never letting up. It's relentless, and I appreciate your relentlessness after all these years. I mean, you struggle to win. You're planning on winning. You're not playing to lose. You're playing to win, like your father would say. I don't know how you're probably paraphrasing and stuff, but your father had a lot of great things to say. And like you said, he was only 21 when he got when he got martyred, crucified. And I just wish that Brother Malcolm, it seems like what I get from people, they had a lot of good people around him like yourself, but he just made the wrong choices in people. Like he just chose the wrong people. But he had a lot of good people around him, it seems.
And we cannot negate that there was, again, the playing field was not leveled. The playing field was not leveled. We got to acknowledge that this is a powerful entity. The counterinsurgency is no joke. The counterinsurgency is no joke. Some sister talked to me a few months back. I had struggled to grab, take her youngsters on, and I take them, politicize them and everything. So anyway, there's a known one of the known agent provocateurs within our community. One of the guys, in fact, they refer to him as one of the Nicky Barneses. So one of the guys who works for the government to push the plantation poison on the community. He would literally come and snatch these little brothers away from our guidance once he see us start to politicize them. So one little brother, his mother was struggling. She said, "Chairman, man, go back. Can't you do me?" I just with all due respect, I say, "Son, he's past 12 years old now. I'm not trying to sound stoic or cold to you. I can't compete with those fancy cars and the jewelry and resources that this guy has. I can't compete with it. I can't compete." I said, "You notice the police, when they come up, they sweat me, and these children see that. When I was in prison, I had young brothers tell me, 'Chairman, I would love to be what you own.' But they come and shake your cell down. They transfer you to the Supermax. And they don't do that to the other guys who want nonsense. So let's acknowledge the playing field is not level.
Right.
The counterinsurgency is serious, and the temptations, all you name it. So it's not just a question of we're struggling on equal basis. The Black Panther Party said we are battling for the minds and heart to the masses. And we are saying the deal is we are our resource. This system creates bogus organizations. They co-opt our struggle. And people see certain things. They assassinated 21-year-old Chairman Fred, and they assassinated Defense Captain Mark Clark in a strategic type of way. To send those images to people. Don't you dare do this. You know what I'm saying? They know people. We know growing up in school to talk about Dr. King and never say Malcolm X. Why? We know the reaper. We know. We may not know how to say counterinsurgency, but we know the repercussion. People see how the entity of this paper is able to have a continuous release that can put the New York Times to shame. Some of the SFA view. They see how they able to get the word out, and there's the travel and resources. For example, when people talk about young Valrey as a young teenager, this popped up in Cuba. People say, man, he's able to go everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So this can be enticing. This can be enticing and access to resources and all that. And and people see these attacks, and we must be honest about that. You know what I'm saying? After we look at the photographs of the Black Panthers and the leather jackets, and it's romantic. The berets look good. There's an underbelly to this also. There's the prison cells that. The Jamals, the Jerry O'Neill Dunnigans, and the people that wasn't even in the Black Panther Party. There's the beatings that dealt with Africa and the Moon Heresies. There's the denial of visits. There's the guards spitting in your food. There's the slander in your name. I mean, you talk about that I authored some years back. You can even imagine the people that surprised me, that shied away, and some even basically said that they want to lose their opportunity to promote their productions or whatever they got going on in the Bayview newspaper. They don't want to be in bad graces. So these are the type of situations we must be up front. In fact, it was a common saying one of the street organizations in the 60s, one of the street tribes. They said when the police come for us, they may lock us up. When they come for the Panthers, they will kill you. That impacted membership. Them young brothers and sisters heard that. They knew this. So let's acknowledge that. I understand the fact that, man, I feel like I'm riding on fumes sometimes. Being a freedom fighter, man, being a revolutionary, the pain is short and you may not live long. That hurts to say that, man. This impacts your impacts your ability to have relationships. This impacts your dialogue, your family, all that. We don't even know the total impact of war. How many our families have been impacted by service of the people, going and taking a principal position, fighting the people. I commented the other day, 2 days ago, at the event for the Move family, and I was commenting how similar to that of like how you see a good chef, a good cook, they never sit down and eat. They never eat nothing themselves. You see a good barber, you go to the shop, you're like, well, that guy never cut his hair. Why is his hair never cut? Right. Because he doesn't hair well. And you go listen to the testimonies. You listen to read the letters and hear what Russell Maroon Schultz, the Leonard Peltiers, and the Jerry Dunigans, and Marsha King Conways, and Imam Jamil Alameen. Listen to what Sunday Island Colas and Sekou Dingers, Move 9, Tony Lee Stewarts, and so many others, Puerto Rico political prisoners, and this goes on and on. You'll be surprised. You listen to them, they will be telling you about. Listen to Mumia Abu Jamal. Listen to his testimony, his updates. We talk about what's going on with the natives on the reservation. Talk about this contradictions and the case of another prisoner. You have cases where political prisoners saying, free this other one. You free this. It's a selfless, like put the work on something, work for the people, and a lot of people can't understand that. It's not even a concern about themselves, and that impacts your family. That impacts and people see that. People on the outside see that. That's why it's so important that we make sure when they come to attack some of our people that we at least owe them an investigation. We at least owe the people are watching, man. The people are watching. They even in the street organizations, when one of the guys get gunned down, they pour out a little liquor for him, give him a name on the wall or something. People are watching. So many people see this, and it affects and impacts on membership, and impacts on. It's not just because people don't know certain things. There's a reward incentive, and it hurts, man. It hurts, because so many people would love to get involved in the struggle. However, there are so many other quote unquote options that the state will provide for them, and they come to so many dressed up ways. And our job is to expose the contradictions. And if you want to make that decision, then you at least make an informed decision.
Well, Brother Chairman Fred, I want to thank you so much once again for your dedication and for all the things you've been doing, even before you got here from the womb. I mean, for your legacy, for the sacrifices you and your family have made. We salute you all, and we love you madly. And I want to know, what's the best way for us to get in contact with you or to help your organization by any means?
First and foremost, I salute you. I salute the people back. Because, again, as Minister U.P. Newman stated, that without the people, revolution is impossible. And it's an honor to serve the people. Asana Shakur said, a lot of times people say, what has the movement done for her? What has she done for the not what she done for the movement, what all she has done for the movement, but what the movement has done for her. I thank the people for allowing me to be who I am, to not be forced into the only options in life to become a Boy Scout or a banger, to be that of a servant of the people, of a beautiful people. I can be contacted on Chairman Fred Jr. at gmail.com. Chairman Fred Jr. at gmail.com. Also, my blog spot can be reached at www.chairmanfredjr.blogspot.com. chairmanfredjr.blogspot.com. Also on Facebook, The Real Chairman Fred Jr. On Facebook. And I've been really running. I've been in the field lately. I should be back online in a minute, though. But those are my contacts. And revolutionary love, respect, and appreciation to the people. For giving us the opportunity to provide this pressing update. Again, because opposition is without the people. Revolution is possible. Also, just give an update too. I just got word also that I heard that the funeral service is supposed to be set for Friday. I think that this Friday, and I think my blog spot we'll get more specifics as we get them in regards to Malcolm Shabazz.
It's gonna be Friday. Do you know where exactly?
Yeah. I'm here in the West. I'm here in Oakland. That's what I'm hearing. So as soon as I get confirmation there, I will we'll post it on my blog spot definitely. ChairmanFredJr.blogspot, and I'm sure other people will have the information also. Yeah, yes indeed.
I want to thank you once again, Chairman Fred, for all that you do and for all the things that you are going to do. And I just, I'm thankful that the Creator has allowed you to live another day and hopefully many more days to come. Bless you and your family, and bless our people for being better, for helping you all in our lives and our struggles. So thank you so much, because the revolution never sleeps, and neither should we until we get justice.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what's our call? Free them all. Thousands of people. We ride.
Free them all. We ride. Thank you, sir.
Free them all. We ride. Yes, sir.
You ride.